If you like a good harebrained theory, I've got one for you.
That cloud that they went into. I don't know exactly what it is or where it came from, but I know what it does.
Wild. I had a different take on that.
Today, Sterling and I are talking about the hit post-apocalyptic thriller Silo Season 3, Episode 1, Who Are You? So spoilers are ahead.
And we dive right in with Juliette and her memory loss.
We tackle the flashback and the relevance of the cloud.
We talk about Sims, Bernard, and more.
Quick shout out to our channel members. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. We truly appreciated it. You are the best people on the internet.
All right, let's get into the episode.
I think this was a great tactic that they used for this season of Silo, because I feel like it brings us back to the roots of Silo. And that is Juliette's memory being erased. I think this has some great narrative legs that it can go through.
Oh, yeah.
Just like what we saw with her getting that note, it really creates it creates a very similar feeling to the first Juliette, who was searching for answers and not knowing what she was doing. And so I think it's a cheeky way for the writers to kind of get us back into that version
feel from the beginning.
Feel of Silo. Yes.
It's interesting also because I feel like even though she doesn't have the information, you can still see that she still has the processing abilities. Like her brain is still sharp as ever. And the way it comes off to me is that the story that she's being told isn't vibing. It's not lining up. And so the gears are turning. So it doesn't matter that she doesn't have the memories and that they feel like they've come up with this, airtight story. She can't turn off her brain, even without those memories. And it's saying there's something wrong with this. And I think she's very clearly going to figure that out because of that brain.
Yeah. Well, and I think that there was like the people of the Silo, the order, they've always were against certain people having children, right? Like people that are these rebellious people that are thinkers that are trying to like pick apart what's going on. And so clearly there's this anti-memory drug that we've known about for a while, and them using it on Juliette, this is like perfect reasoning why they don't want certain people having kids, because the anti-memory drug is so, it's not as like reliable as a drug would be. And so there's some people that can push past it, that like maybe have a stronger willpower that can fight through it. And I think that Juliette is a perfect example of why they don't want certain people to breed, because of that willpower she has.
Yeah, it's interesting that they put her in this position of power because of that, and maybe they thought that having the memory erased, having that kind of like airtight story, that she would be the perfect kind of puppet that was there. But I think the only reason that she wasn't a troublemaker back in the days of Mechanical was because she had this complex problem to constantly solve. And it was one that only she understood at a certain level, the engine, the most important thing. And like that was able to keep her from worrying about the going ons of the Silo. But now at the top as mayor, thinking about more than just a machine, like thinking about the Silo as a whole is kind of her job. And I feel like they've kind of shot themselves in the foot, unless that is part of the plan, because Sims and his wife, they are also trying to get answers, and they're trying to, I don't think it's just like a position of power type thing that they're going for. I think there's something more to it there, and I don't know, maybe they're putting her there knowing what she can unlock. I don't quite know.
See, I thought the reason they put her there was, in a sense, Juliette was the face of the rebellion. even though she wasn't there, it was always
Yes. Yeah.
Juliette lives written on everything. And so she was the one that left. She was the one to not clean first, starting off this rebellion, getting everybody in the down deep riled up. She comes
Right.
back, she cleans, and in that moment, she is the perfect headpiece to be. She was the face of the rebellion. She led the rebellion, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
she's back. Like, if she's not the mayor, like if they don't make her mayor, then it's all gonna come crumbling down again, right? She's
Yes.
gonna rile people up. She's gonna
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna listen to Camille and Sims, who were so close to Bernard, who they think is this bad guy that like was creating all these problems for the silo. So they needed to put Juliette there to be like, we need to keep everybody in line. And it seems like it worked. Like there's no rebellion. Everybody
Right.
is chill. So
Yeah. Yeah. So they were ready to follow her out of the silo. And now that she's saying, hey, stay in here, hang tight, they're listening to her. And since she's kind of fallen in line, they also are falling in line, at least to a certain extent. So I can definitely see that as, but once again, like it just feels, she's got that engineer brain that you just can't turn off.
right.
She's always looking at the fine details and how things really work. Like not just how somebody tells you that they work, but figuring it out for yourself.
Right. Like when she even talks about like, how did I come back in? Like I know I needed to come back in. I didn't know Bernard was coming out. I would have thought
Yeah.
of something. I had a crowbar. Where did I get a crowbar?
Mhm.
Like, and I think she's always been that way. She's always been thinking about what's more. I think even when she talked about with George way back when, she was always thinking like, is there more? And I think potentially a lot of that was from George, that she kind of got that view of what is the silo here for? What are we doing?
Right.
And it is interesting. We've seen more like other people are questioning the silo, like the miner. The miner Harwood. He was talking about, he knows how old the silo has been there. So I think we've got a confirmation it's 300 years old, because they know how long it takes to dig mines, and so there's all these mines that you can trace how old the silo is, and yet you can't go out a certain distance of the silo.
Man, there's interesting tension that is building up between him and the young woman, that's Carla's daughter,
I don't think she's Carla's
or
daughter.
related to Carla, because she took Carla's position.
She's Carla's shadow.
Carla should thank you.
But she
Carla's
took
shadow.
the Harwood's daughter was originally the shadow, and she took her job. And I think there's going to be some interesting drama around that, because she even makes a point to say that she's investigating his
Yes.
daughter. So
Yes.
something's going to come out with that. I don't know what. Some is.
Well, and they said some interesting lines in Supply, because they brought in, a huge tank of something, and it was because of how heavy it was going to take a long time to move, and so they're going to be working at crazy hours like 3 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah,
and
at night.
Yeah, and it was a very strange piece of dialogue, because it was like, I don't think I need to know that information unless I need to know that information.
Unless we need to know that information.
And so it did make me wonder whether or not, and I don't know if it's like her character or somebody else in Supply that is using their need to do things late at night to be able to do some of these, mass trips where they're, putting out banners about it's all lies. And so I do wonder whether or not there's somebody in Supply connected to that.
Well, it's interesting you say that too, because there is a moment when we see the elevators and the pulley systems that, remember, that's like one of the biggest rules against the pact. So definitely something interesting there. but she hung around there and she looked very intent on understanding these elevators and pulleys. And I think like something related to her with the supply is going to relate to this elevator pulley system that'll show you the exact reason of why it was in the pact and why it shouldn't exist, or like why they don't allow that to happen.
Right. One of the other big ones that the pact it says is a no is like sensors of a certain size, which
magnification of a certain size.
Well, oh yeah, so yeah, it was magnification of a certain size, which means that like you wouldn't have the technology to make small chips, sensors, things along those along those lines, and like when Walker had when Juliette gave Walker the video camera, and she was looking at it, and she's like, "This isn't the type of thing you could do without magnification." An interesting thing is that the intro this season is different.
It is different. I was wondering if you were going to catch that.
And one of the differences is there was a lens, like a camera lens, it looked like. It looked like, or it was a shutter, is what it looked like. It had like the crisscrossing that's able to like change the aperture. Yeah. I did think it was really interesting that they changed it. Does also make me wonder whether or not they change it for season 4. And the reason I assume that they might do that, but they didn't do it for season 2, was because season 1 and 2 are all book 1. Right. Season 2 is book 2, or season 3 is book 2. Season 4 is the final book in the trilogy. So I do wonder whether or not they change it again for the next season.
I bet they will. Also, another new thing was the solar system.
Yeah.
We didn't see that before, and that reminds me of the library that I forget Steve Zahn's character's name that he was in. That there was the big solar system there where it had all the information of all the stuff previous to being in the silo, and I'm sure that this silo has one as well. And so I'm very, very curious if that's going to come into play. We know Solo. That's right. He was Solo. But like we also know that Lucas had an interest in the stars and mapping them. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a huge revelation based off this astronomy type configuration.
Another one of the interesting things was the apple that falls or whatever fruit it was, is a rotten version of the fruit instead of a ripe version. Because in the first 2 seasons, I almost got the impression, because I think I don't know, I remember if it like decomposed. I got the impression that it was almost like the fruit of this becomes, what comes from underneath. Yeah, exactly. And like we do see that with like the trees where, when there's a funeral, everybody eats part of an apple and then throws it in there, so it makes a tree. And so it did seem like it was kind of related to that. And now it's like the poisoning of that, the rotting of that potentially.
Well, and that could be a symbol for the poisoning of potentially the AI, where it's like it's working with Camille, it's outside the order, it's doing its own thing, and maybe it goes haywire and starts pulling strings that the order might not have had planned. It could be a symbol of the poison that is potentially going to fill the silo.
Right.
So there is a lot of... I'm excited to see the deeper meaning, because I do feel like it does give us these answers, especially just even from the intro. So I'm excited to see.
Yeah. I did think that the start of this season was interesting, doing the split between the present timeline and by present I mean like our present, so actually the past timeline, and then where we got to with like Juliette and everybody else. And I know that last season there was some grumblings about them having entire episodes just in one silo. because it made it so that like there was always something crazy that happened in the last silo that you want to get to, and an
Right.
entire episode, sometimes an episode and a half, will just like completely ignore it. And I think that was frustrating for some people. I didn't mind it. I actually thought it was an interesting structure. But I do think that for anybody that had that issue, the fact that it was going between those two timelines in this one episode, would solve that, where we do get to see what happened to Juliet, and we get to see, the interesting thing from the past that we got, and we kind of flesh that out. And so I would hope that more audiences are kind of happy with the start of this season compared to some people with last season.
I think it would have been really hard with the flashbacks of what happened before without going to any of the silos, because the one thing in the last season when we spent a whole episode with Juliette, she's a familiar character. She is the protagonist that you want to succeed. So not seeing the other silo, at least you're with some familiarity. And then
Right.
vice versa, when there were episodes in Silo 18 without Juliette, familiar characters, easy to, as an audience, to be like, yes, I want to watch these. I think if they did a whole episode of a flashback to the past, especially as the first episode, it would be very hard for audience to be like, yes, I want to still be engaged with Silo, because all of the characters you miss, and you get all these brand new characters that you have no relationship with. It could
Yeah.
disenfranchise you to the show.
Yeah.
But I think it was important that they went side by side, and I think it gives a huge clue to something in the past that is they didn't quite right out say, but I think
Okay.
what is that cloud that they went into. And I don't know exactly what it is or where it came from, but I know what it does.
Okay.
It is the substance that is the mind eraser, the memory eraser. So the reason these stories were told in tandem is because both the congressman's sister and Juliette are having their memories erased. They hid the congressman's sister having her memory erased by saying that she had a traumatic brain injury, which would clearly have her not remember certain things. And so that's why they're like, she has a
Yeah.
traumatic brain injury. She's lost her memory because of it. But I believe it was the stuff that made her lose her memory. That smoke, it's so weird. It was breaking up the planes. You saw her touch it. It was gooey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that they use that substance to create the memory erasing drug, and they hid it in plain sight. She was the only one that went through it and survived.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
touched it. And so I think she got a concentrated dose of it. And because we saw that Juliette's memories were being manipulated, it's a perfect introductory story for them to both go on that same path of having their memories erased.
Wild. I had a different take on that.
Lay it on me. What was your take?
So my take was that that the pilot slash sister, don't remember her name, maybe she wasn't supposed to live through that experience, and that her memory was erased after the fact in order to prevent knowledge of whatever this stuff is from getting out. That those are kind of two separate things. Whatever the oily stuff is,
The cloud.
and
Call it
the cloud, and the memory stuff. So I could see your way.
See, I didn't think that somebody erased her memory because of that, because it seemed like everybody was on board to attack Iran again because they had a dirty bomb in the capital. Like, this seemed like it was a planned thing. Like, they shot off 4 Tomahawk missiles from the McCain, and those were all intercepted by the cloud. The cloud was such almost like a terrorizing force that it didn't seem like the US government knew about that cloud. And that's why I feel like, and because they say it's a traumatic brain injury, they put her to the best place to like fix her memory.
Right.
Like if it was something that they did and it was this drug that Juliette is facing, which we know that people with strong willpower can kind of fight it, why would you send them to the best hospital that would fix memory problems? And so I believe that cloud is the memory eraser.
I'm curious what people think of that cloud in general, though, because the past year has been an interesting year for sci-fi, and sci-fi TV shows, where shows that people thought were going one way take a hard turn. And I won't do spoilers, so I won't say what they are, but Paradise Season 2 had a big turn that really surprised people. You know, it seemed like it was going one sci-fi direction and it went a different way. And then a non-sci-fi show from Isn't Sci-Fi, it had a twist in it at the end of last season, which, while not technically being sci-fi because it's not controlled by science, the trope is a trope that is common in science fiction. And so, and now we have like this one, which started off seeming like it's just your typical post-apocalyptic, sci-fi. But that cloud, to me, seems like one of two things. It seems way too advanced for us. And so it's either aliens, I feel like, or the future. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just, somebody in an underground lab has been working for quite some time and finally developed something ahead of what we thought. But this to me feels like a sharp turn that I think could be polarizing. There are some people that don't like that type of sci-fi.
Right. Well, I wonder if, because like you said, it's based off the books. So I'm wondering if this is something that's part of the books, that there is this cloud. Maybe it's an entity. Maybe it comes from aliens. Maybe it's, like you said, somebody created it. It got out, and somebody was working on it. Some advanced physicist and chemist, and created
Neil
it.
Neil deGrasse Tyson went rogue. You know,
he just was like,
and
humans have had enough. Let's wipe all their memories. Because I'm still in the memory erase train. That's what I think it is. Because we did see it like destroy things, but to me that's not a world-ending cloud. Like that wasn't the cloud that created the barren wasteland that we see today.
But or could it be? Like, like the more that we talk about it, the more that it gives me vibes of, what was it called? There was a Stephen King short story.
The Mist.
No, it was it had a weird name for it, for like what these creatures were, but this I think a plane that is traveling ends up kind of going in between times, so it's like stuck, it's like just behind the present, and there are these forces that like eat the past, and so like the world around them is getting erased, and it's and it kind of gives me those vibes of like, because this thing was like breaking down the plane, like why couldn't it break down the ecosystems and maybe it can't go through the ground. Maybe that's why they have to go underground.
Interesting.
I
mean, you're very much right. It could have eaten all the clouds, basically destroying any rain system, potentially. It's interesting. It could be. It could be the thing that destroyed it. I wonder if it's maybe both. Maybe it's like force, power is just destruction, and part of that is memory. Like it's so good at getting into every facet of you that it destroys your memory, or if you inhale it, it can mess your brain up where you're missing the memory, and that potentially in the early stages when they're trying to figure it out, they like are able to synthesize a version of it or get a piece of it to create this memory drug, and then it's also what destroys everything. But I don't know.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
I like your idea. I don't know if I'm there yet, but I'm mulling it over. I like it. It's interesting.
It just felt right because we're talking about the memory drugs with Juliette.
Yeah.
It's a parallel story. It felt like
right.
That's my only real reason to betting on that horse.
It's interesting when you can see stories that parallel each other, because they can sometimes, especially when they have similarities but they diverge in certain ways, like that can kind of point out those moments of divergence and really kind of like shine a light on the differences. And so it can be a powerful tool. So I could definitely see something like that.
But what I want to know,
yes,
in the beginning scenes with her, she walks into a building, walks right back out, or maybe is there for a couple minutes. We just are on the door.
Yeah. I assume that was like a cut. Yeah.
I mean, it could have been a cut. Because her hair was different. Her hair was up and then it was down. But she had her duffel bag in both.
Yeah.
And then she sees that guy on the train and is very weirded out by him. And who is that guy? Is he anything? Is he a shadowless figure?
I thought that was just like her paranoia. Like that shows, because he ended up not looking, he ended up not even looking at her as the metro went by when she'd stepped out of it, which kind of, for me, confirmed that it was paranoia, because it's not like he suddenly looked up and tried to go to the door. He just kept nonchalantly, I don't know if he was looking at his phone or whatever it was.
He was on his phone. I don't know. I think there might be, because I think you could definitely show her paranoia. But for some reason, like the whole, maybe just going into the building was just to throw people off that might have been following her. That she went in, she changed her hair and came back out.
That's what I thought. So that they're looking for her to come back out in that same outfit. And when she comes out in a different outfit with her head down, they don't see her face. They see a different outfit. And so she just lost that tail.
Okay. I could see that.
So I saw this as like her, because it was very similar to what she described for what she told her brother to do. It's like, these are all the steps that you need to do. She took them, I think, a little bit more seriously, because I think as the person with the knowledge that she has, I think if anybody's going to be monitored, it's going to be her first. And then there might be like secondary tales on her friends and family, people she might contact. And so I think it showed that like she's taking this very seriously.
But what knowledge does she have?
I don't know.
Well, and now we won't know because our memory's gone.
We'll find out at some point.
Maybe not. See, part of me did wonder if the old guy was Stenson, the guy that owned the memory place for his mother.
Okay.
I thought potentially, because he just looked like a rich white dude, that I was like, oh, he probably built that place. But now we were probably right. It was just paranoia. But I thought there might have been more to it. But I don't know the characters enough. I don't know their story, plot, backstory enough.
Right.
So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know on that one.
I do have a minor little gripe with this episode. It definitely felt like, especially the portion with Sims in front of the group, explaining all the changes that they've done to the silo, because of everything that's happened. It did feel a little bit like an information dump, and it did feel a little manufactured. And I understand there's a lot of information to get out. This episode did feel very expositional and very, You know, there definitely were a few show don't tell moments. Like I think the tailing, we see with the tailing how how paranoid she is. We see when she goes through the cloud, that thing. There's no information dump that happens there. That's all show don't tell. But there were also big parts of this episode that were very much tell don't show, and a lot of telling. Um, so a little expositional. It's still a great episode for me.
See, I actually liked it because yes, so there were some parts. I think it was good to like describe what the silo used to be, which felt more like tyrannical. There was one person in charge and controlling everything, and now it kind of like switched to a democracy, and people are more people have a say in what's going on. There's a council. But then there's the other part where they basically say all the bad things Bernard was doing and how they got rid of all the cameras, and then we see they still have the cameras.
Yeah,
like
of course.
we still see that it is operating as business as usual. And so
Yes.
I did
They've made some surface level changes to like pacify people.
Right, but like and having Sims be this one that's like we were so blindsided by Bernard doing this awful thing, and we couldn't believe, and we got rid of all those cameras except for the main security ones we need. And then we see that like there's 2 cameras in Juliette's house where they're watching her, and more cameras. Like the whole camera room place looked fine and operating as normal. So to me, it was like it was this performative motion, and we did get some exposition into it, but it was also to be like, we're also lying to you. Like we are now the ones that we are the Bernards now, like me and my wife Camille. So I and plus, you know, I can't get mad at Common. I can't.
No, I definitely can't get mad at him.
I want more Common. More screen time with Common. He's the best.
Yes. And I think somebody who has sniffed out a lot of those lies might even have inside knowledge. It definitely seems like Paul has gone through a lot. Paul Billings went through a lot the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And he's in such an interesting position right now where, you know, he was the one who won the most competitions to show that like have the pact memorized.
Right.
You know, and he didn't just, that wasn't just something that he did of like memorizing it. That's something he took seriously. He always tried to live by the pact. And then it turned out that that there was hidden information, there were lies. He was being used by everybody. He was being used by, you know, Judicial. He was being used by Juliette sometimes, you know, and sometimes, even though he was following the pact, he was being used so that somebody else could disobey the pact, you know, or to follow out somebody else's disobeyal of the pact. You know, like he's called upon to hold Juliette, you know, because she said, "I don't want to go outside," but he never heard it, and she's claiming she never said it, and it's like he's supposed to follow the pact, but he has a feeling that all these people that have been using him are lying and are abusing the pact. And I feel like in that meeting that you could see that he's still trying to figure out what to do, you know, and that he's still in this weird middle place of how he handles that knowledge. And does he go against the pact? And now, of all the jobs to be given, he's the guy to change the pact, you know? And it's
right.
So I loved seeing his face. Like he just looked like he was in such an uncomfortable situation.
I mean, part of me thinks that Paul might be working with Kennedy, the Outsiders.
Really?
I mean, if we think about last season, I feel like Paul Billings got a lot of his. Right, first season he sees the magazine that he burns.
Yeah.
Second season he gets all the information from Kennedy. Part of me thinks that I think Paul is just a dutiful man, and he lives by a certain set of morals, and those morals made him follow the pact through and through. But now, starting to falter from the pact, I could see Paul being aligned with the outsiders and potentially going to aid them in some way, or is aiding them currently.
Interesting.
It's just a little thought. Maybe he is, maybe he's not. I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
But I think in some way there's going to be more Bernard.
Really?
I don't know if it's flashbacks or what, but
okay.
I feel, this is my opinion on this. Watch the credits, the opening credits. It says, and Tim Robbins.
Okay.
We don't have Tim Robbins come back for just a quick murder scene where he's just like, ah, boom, dead. Is there a world where that happens? Where we just have just that moment of Tim Robbins? Tim motherfucking Robbins? The Shawshank Redemption? You think he's just coming back to film this whole season as one blip and have his name still in the credits?
Well, so the just filming the one scene, interesting. As far as the credits go, I mean, that could just be between the pull of his name and having a great agent. With the pull of his name, he probably has the power to be able to say, anytime I'm in an episode, my name is in the credits, full stop. And that's what his agent gets for him. Even if it's a tiny role, I'm in the credits, full stop. And that's the power of a good agent.
But is he going to be in the next credits? And if he's not in the episode, I don't know. Maybe, but I also couldn't really imagine him just coming to film that one gasp scene. And every time we saw his wrapped body, he was so wrapped and indistinguishable.
Yeah.
So there is a part of me that we know he wasn't poisoned. We know he technically survived. We saw Common kill him.
Yeah.
But what if that's just what he told Camille? What if that's just a lie he told Camille, and that's what we were seeing is... So he told Juliette one thing, and we saw him wrapped up like he was poisoned. And then we see the moment where he does that, where he suffocates him as he's talking to Camille. And so to me, I could see a world where Tim Robbins is still alive, Bernard is still alive, and Juliette wants to talk to him so bad. Is it going to happen? Because she said, I just wish I could talk to Bernard. And they both were like, you can't do that. You know he's dead. But is he dead? Or do we get more Bernard? I think we're getting more Tim Robbins.
I thought they did that to delay that question, because I think a lot of people know that in Hollywood, you're not dead until we see the body. And the situation we saw him in seemed like a situation he couldn't live through. You had the interesting theory at the end of the last season. You remembered that she had a fireproof thing. You said, I think she jumped on top of him and that was enough of a shield to have protected him. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. I can get behind that. And then we don't see him. And the people that we know are lying keep saying, you can't talk to him, he's dead. And in my head, I was thinking, oh man, I've got a banger of a title, because here's my theory: Bernard's not dead. And then we saw him get strangled, and I just saw my theory go poof. So I think it was to delay that moment. And in my head, and you could be right, I'm generally wrong, but in my head, he is he did actually die, and it was like just to keep that going for a little bit more, to like keep the tension.
I mean, I could see that too, But also, I do feel like since they changed the introduction sequence, why have
Yeah.
his name on there? Maybe he's got a good agent. You're right, potentially. But also, I just also loved his character so much. He's so menacing and so not menacing at the same time. He's kind, but
Yeah.
also just a little cuckoo. And man, I just wish this is naivete. I just am hopefully, selfishly wishing that Shawshank Redemption is still alive, that he tunneled out of there.
And I would argue that this show has been doing this from the very beginning, where they've made you wonder if somebody is dead, only to later show you that they are dead. Most of the time, other shows make you wonder if somebody's dead just so that the next episode they can not kill off a major character, because it's hard for writers to get you to love new characters constantly. And so it's easier to just keep alive the cast that you love, never kill them, everybody's happy. And this show would kill people off, but it would be like the mayor, when she was poisoned, we didn't actually see. We just like heard him run to her, and it's like, is she? And then the next episode, they made it clear. Same thing with the deputy, where somebody broke into his apartment and there was a scuffle, and you're like, oh my God, is he gonna live? And the next episode, it's like, no, he didn't live. But for a full week, they kept you waiting. And even before that, I feel like
the first sheriff and his wife.
The first sheriff and his wife.
Like,
I didn't think
alive outside?
From the beginning, I was convinced that they were alive for like 9-10 episodes up until the very end, when Juliette trips on the bodies, and then it's like, oh wow, yeah, no, they're they're gone.
Yeah. All right, maybe he's not alive, maybe he's not back, but part of me feels like I want him back. I want him back.
But if you like a good harebrained theory, I've got one for you.
All right, lay it on me.
Okay. We keep hearing this, this voice from the whatever the computer is that runs this place, that could kill everybody. And I feel like there were a few moments where it sounded a little emotive. Sounded like it portrayed some emotion. And it was in that moment when I felt, and I'm probably wrong, but I felt like I heard something that I recognized through the heavy voice modulation.
Bernard's voice.
No, I wish. To me, it sounded like Daniel Keene's voice, the senator or whatever he is.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, it would make sense if he was the creator of the silos / the order, because he was. They drilled it into our heads, pun intended. That he went without the dams, he went with the drills instead, some magic technique that doesn't disturb the soil. So I could see that. I could see his voice being part of the AI that is controlling it. Maybe he created the order, the pact, potentially.
And to me, it wouldn't. To me, I don't think that they, just use like voice cloning technology so that they could keep the comfort of his voice. For me, it would be almost like his thoughts, like his mind that is kind
of he's Starlinked into the silos.
Yeah, possibly something along those lines.
And that's why he's emotive. It's not just an AI. It's something that has feelings. It can.
It's an eye. It's just an eye.
It's just
not
an
AI. It's just an eye.
Just an intelligence, because. And maybe he could upload himself to the internet, and that's how he has all the information that he could pull from.
Right.
I could see that. it does.
I promise you
know...
it's harebrained. Feel free to don't approach it with any sharp objects. I'm sure that
No. I like this idea. In fact, I'm betting it all on Black. He's in the AI. Daniel Keene in the AI. Wrap it up. We're done here. We got it.
We got it.
We got it. Let's all go. Let's all leave the silo. We can go now. Don't pump out the gas, please.
Yeah.